All right, mics are set up. I think we're good to go after school. Are y'all down still?
Dude, not gonna lie, I'm not feeling too great about this episode.
Bro, what episode?
It's for this mental health podcast that we're doing.
Mental health. Dude, what are you talking about?
While it may seem like a joke to some, mental health, and especially men's mental health, is a real issue.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I suffer from severe anxiety.
Hi, I'm Ethan, and I suffer from obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Hi, I'm Kabir, and I suffer from depression.
Some nights I felt the need to position my books in an exact way, and if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
There have been days when I couldn't even leave my room because I was ruminating about how much of a failure I've become.
I have stood in the corner of many social events, paralyzed in fear, terrified of how people would perceive me if they saw my awkwardness.
Although we're just 3 normal high school guys, mental health issues have had a big impact on our lives, as has our passion for radio. That's why we started the Mind Matters podcast, where we talk about specific issues relating to mental health and feature guests who are in the mental health field.
All right, welcome to Mind Matters.
Hello,
my name's
welcome to
Ethan.
Mind
In
Matters.
today's
My name's
episode,
Ethan.
we are going to
I'm
be talking
Ben.
about
I'm
friendship.
Kabir.
And welcome
All right, hello, my name's
third.
Ethan.
I'm Ben.
What's
I'm
up?
Kabir.
My name's
And
Ethan.
welcome to Mind Matters.
One of the main goals of our show is to raise awareness and break the stigma surrounding mental health problems and men's mental health in general.
When we started our podcast, we certainly did not understand how big of a problem men's mental health is and the stigma around it.
When people hear that we have a podcast about mental health, the first comment they make is something like this: seriously? Don't you think that's kind of silly? And if not that, there's always some subtle mockery of our mission. People genuinely don't view it as a valuable thing to talk about.
So there's a social tax on our passion, something we have to sacrifice in order to keep going. For high school boys especially, getting involved in mental health, let alone making a mental health podcast, is seen as emasculating.
And while we love what we do, none of us can escape that nagging feeling of conformity.
I remember one day I was in math class and someone mentioned the podcast, and suddenly a bunch of people started mocking it, playing an episode aloud and laughing at what we said. The whole goal of that was humiliation. When I confronted them, they said they were just kidding, but I knew that the actual reason they did it was to flex their masculinity.
We've talked about our experiences with stigma, but stigma around a mental health podcast and stigma around men's mental health problems in general are very different. So we went into the community to see how big of a problem stigma really is. Peter Rollo is a well-known athletic trainer throughout our town. As a former professional boxer and gym manager, he has a lot of experience dealing with ultra-masculine characters. However, Pete has dealt with massive trauma throughout his life and has a great perspective about men's mental health. Pete, thank you for doing an interview with us.
Thank you for having me.
So do you view mental health issues as a prevalent problem among men in our community?
Yes, I do believe that they're prevalent. I've seen in men and even teenage high levels of depression, anxiety, and an almost complete lack of social support for them.
How do men approach the topic of mental health?
In my experience, they don't. That's not something that boys and men are expected to be cognizant of. In my experience of talking with men and boys throughout all my years of my job, we're largely expected to just push through, kind of chin up and chest out, and just get the job done for our families and just go back to school, back to work, and just keep on going. I've seen forever in my own experience too, that when men meet up with each other, play golf or whatever, it's to distract each other from everyday life. We don't view other men as a viable means for any sort of deep social support.
So why do you think men approach the topic of mental health in this way?
I think men approach mental health this way, number one, because social media promotes content that shows men with perfect lives that are great at the thing that they do, that are the best in the world at it, and they never show how they really feel about it or about life, about anything else, or even who they really are, and it's just fake. And secondly, I think that men are really honestly scared of being called soft for talking about mental health at all.
We've seen the stigma around mental health. We've seen the prevalence of mental health problems throughout our community, and we've been bullied for talking about it. We know fixing these problems is an uphill and possibly unwinnable battle.
Teenagers are naturally inclined to discard and make fun of anything that portrays weakness, like talking about mental health.
But we are not weak. We will keep fighting and keep fighting hard to bring awareness to the real problem of men's mental health in our community, no matter the cost.